Good morning. Back another edition of Dirty
Uh,
Water Boys. We're here with Dirty Water Don, Ganimal, and the Wonton Don. The Voltron Don's back in effect. Thanks for coming out. Just a quick segment. We are powered by Trinity Solar. For all your solar needs, it's not only a brand that endorses us, but a brand our family uses. Reach out to 908-235-9526. Talk to Josh about going solar. It makes you feel good when you save the planet. So, Mr. Wonton,
It's been a while.
it's been a while, buddy. How are things?
Things are great. Last time I was hanging out with you, I was going to the bottom of the East River. And most recently, I was on the roof of the world.
Yeah, I saw that. I kept checking my phone to make sure it was working,
Yeah.
but it didn't. I didn't get a, hey, you want to go to the top of the world with me? What's that about?
Yeah. We only had two spots.
I understand.
and one wasn't yours.
Yeah.
That's fair. How was it? And so, before you left to go on your expedition, I saw that you went to the Explorers Club in New York.
Yeah. So the guy who invited me on this trip to Everest Base Camp, like the day I was going to fly to Nepal, he was like, hey, can you do me a huge favor and swing by the New York Explorers Club and pick up a flag and bring it to me in Kathmandu? Now, I did not know the Explorers Club existed, but he sent me the address, and I showed up, and it is a cool-ass place.
I've heard this. I've heard they have all kinds of artifacts.
Like a secret society type?
Yeah, and like you walk in, they have stuffed animals that Teddy Roosevelt shot.
That's badass.
You get any pictures
Yeah.
of the stuffed animals?
I took a few. I was actually there when it was closed, but they had some sort of security guard at the front desk who just handed me the flag. And I was shocked he trusted me to carry this flag to Kathmandu. Like, I've lost my carry-on luggage at the airport before. I lose a lot of things at airports, and this flag is apparently a very big deal. Like the flag's been like all over the world on these crazy expeditions. I wouldn't be surprised if the flag has been to the moon. I don't know. Like,
So this flag is not just a new flag for this particular event. It's a
yeah,
like a trophy flag.
yeah. Like, I think this flag has been around since the 1950s, and maybe they have a few, but it's like a big deal whenever someone goes on a crazy expedition. They bring the flag, take photos of it. And the reason my friend wanted to bring it is he pitched the Explorers Club. He's like, I'm going to be climbing Mount Everest, and one person I'm climbing with will be like the first Native American to have ever climbed Everest. And kind of just like, he was like, I really want to have the flag along on the journey. And they were like, all right, sounds good. And now, like, they might be letting him into the club.
That's awesome.
Nice.
We have a friend of ours who's apprenticing. I'm not sure what the terminology is for secret organizations. You know, to get in.
Friend of?
Friend of, yeah, no
Yeah.
associate, if you will. He had to write a book report. He has to get 2 endorsements from two standing members, and I know they don't just take anyone.
So when I posted a photo of the club, I had like 2 random people reach out online. They were like, my dad's on the board. If you want to get in, I can pull some strings.
Whoa, it's a
And
big
so-
come up.
Yeah. I don't know what I would put on my resume.
East River.
I've done a lot of traveling. Yeah. I've been to the bottom of the East River. I've been below Las Vegas. I explored the Mole People tunnels below Las Vegas,
That's pretty
Nice.
where there's just a lot of heroin addicts or meth addicts. What else I could put?
I mean, those 2 I think are just good enough. And then
Yeah.
base camp Everest is just the icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm.
cool. Wonton fanatic.
So now, when you went to the base, what is it like when you get there? Is it hard to breathe?
Yeah, so it's hard to breathe, but it takes like 7 days to hike up to base camp,
Okay.
and you take that slow. So you're like slowly adjusting to the altitude.
So you get time to be acclimated to the weather.
Yeah, like you'll hike for a day, and then the next day you might hike up 1,000 meters, but then you hike back down to sleep so your body can adapt to the altitude.
Okay.
I mean, it really reminded me of scuba diving a bit. How, like, you know, once you go down, you have to come up really slow so your body can get used to it. And then when you're climbing really high altitudes, you're supposed to do it slow too. Because if you go too fast, you can get something called HAP,
Hap.
where Yeah, have you ever heard of it?
Never heard of it.
It's when like fluid fills your lungs, and you can also just like pass out and die from.
Jesus.
What is it? High altitude poisoning or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Did you just come up with that?
I think yeah.
Okay.
That was pretty quick. Yeah, that was good.
Altitude sickness or whatever. We had a few people in our crew. 2 people had to turn back when we were like almost at the base camp because they just weren't handling the altitude well, and they were flown back to Kathmandu. I just noticed my like first you fly up to where you start the hike, and I was at maybe 15,000 feet, and around then, like when you're trying to fall asleep, you're just breathing normally, but you're not getting the oxygen that you need. So like you'll wake yourself up just being like
Almost like sleep apnea almost.
a lot like that. Yeah.
John has an app, apparently he has, that films him when he's sleeping to make sure
No,
he doesn't
records, not film. That'd be weird.
Everything about
film,
that's creepy.
It records only.
So
Record your breathing, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds creepy. So you went there, you got there. I saw some of the content you posted. You were smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol.
Yes.
Respect.
How old are
Respect
those
it.
people? Do they party up there?
Yeah, they party. So like
Yeah, all right.
Sherpas are wild people. They're the ones who carry up most of the equipment and gear up to base camp because there's no roads or anything. So you have these like small dudes that probably have like a couple hundred pounds on their back.
Human
and they're just-
donkeys.
and they're just walking directly up a mountain.
Now, did you carry your own pack, or do you have someone?
I just carried my day pack, and then Sherpas carried all of our big duffel bags.
Wow.
Yeah,
So start to finish, you left for New York with your flag in tow.
yeah.
Start to finish, how long were you out there for?
I was out there for almost 3 weeks, but I had about 4 or 5 days in Kathmandu before the hike started, and then I had about like 5 days in Kathmandu after the hike as well.
Now, is that for safety reasons or just logistics of getting you in and out?
That was just because when I was booking the flights, I didn't know exactly. Like I was told some dates of when we'd be hiking, and then
Okay.
but I didn't know the exact dates, so I just booked those to be safe.
Now, for the average consumer that might have a wild hair up their ass and decide, I'm going to go to Kathmandu and take a walk, what kind of price point we talking? We talking big money, little money?
It varies. The group I was with, they charge a lot because a lot of the people in the group I was with, they would be continuing up to the top of Mount Everest.
Okay.
And I guess when you sign up to climb Mount Everest, it's very expensive.
Okay.
Probably like the cheapest you could do it would be $50K, but a lot of people could pay between 100 or 200K.
It feels like you're paying for the story more than anything.
Yeah.
And the
But they
bragging
have
rights.
luxury like tents and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Better food, right, for that?
Yes.
Right.
Wow.
But if you just wanted to do the trek up to base camp, you could probably do that for under 2K.
Do you think there's a
Like that.
Groupon? Think we get a Groupon for that?
Maybe,
I'm
but
looking to that.
but a lot of the times when you sign up for a trek, you hike 7 or 8 days to base camp, and then you're only allowed to stay at base camp for like a half hour, take your photos, and then you start the hike back down. But because I was with a group of people that were continuing up the mountain, I actually got to spend like 5 days at the base camp,
Oh, nice.
which was a lot of fun. The only day I got like drunk up there was something called Puja Day, and it's the one day all the Sherpas have off, and they have this like ceremony where they bless all of your climbing gear,
Okay.
and it's kind of like to give it good luck on your trek
So
up the
this
mountain.
this is once a week they have this day, or is it once a month?
No, I think just anyone who plans on climbing the mountain, like
Okay.
5 days before they start, they'll do Puja Day. Like all the Sherpas will have the day off. You hold a ceremony, and then you just drink and party for the rest of the day.
That's gangster. So the guys that continued up, did they bring the flag to the top with them?
They haven't made it to the top yet.
But
I
that's the game plan. You
that's
didn't
the
come
game
home
plan.
with the flag.
Yes, I did
So
not.
they're still climbing as we speak.
They're still climbing. Apparently, after you make it to base camp, it can take another 40 days to get to the summit, and that's because they hike like a quarter of the way up, and then they hike back down, and then they'll climb half of the way up and climb back down, 3/4 of the way up,
You were
climb back
saying
down.
that to prevent from
Right.
HAP.
Yeah, to get
That's crazy. How do you
get
go to
used
work
to the
for that?
altitude.
Hey, I need 2 months off.
Yeah.
Climbing a
if
mountain.
you have 50 grand to spend or 100 grand to spend, I'm sure work's not an issue.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it seems like a very expensive hobby unless you find like someone to sponsor your trip to the top.
Speaking of sponsoring trips, I'm still looking for sponsors to Chernobyl. I didn't forget about that.
Yeah, I don't know like what type of brand is going to sign on for that.
We
but I'd
had
be down.
a guest on last week, AC Slate. He went to Chernobyl
Oh, okay.
and he did urban exploring there.
Nice. Yeah.
So it can be done.
Yeah, but I guess all that was done.
Pre-war time.
Yeah.
Now,
Pre-war. The war kind of throws.
We have a
wrench.
friend of ours, Vadim, who was a Russian national. From there, he came to America. I believe he went to the French Foreign Legion first, went to France, did that for a little bit,
Yep.
then came to America, was here for a couple of years, 20 years or so, and then just recently went back to the Ukraine to fight.
Oh shit.
So he fought for, I want to say 5-6 months. Now he's back in the States. Me and the legend went to his house recently. We were talking about it. He's like, Don, go anywhere in the world. Don't go there. Anywhere you want to go, don't go there.
Yeah, you guys should try to have him on the pod to talk about what it was like fighting in Ukraine for 6
We
months.
are. We're going to do a segment coming up called Made in America.
Okay.
So it's going to be people who came
Yeah.
and started with nothing and where they are today and how they made it in America. So he's one of our guests lined up to come on and do that.
Okay.
So it should be a good concept, a good little segment, feel good story.
Yeah.
You come here with $20 in your pocket. 10 years later you own a house.
Yeah. I recently had someone reach out and he offered to bring me to Ukraine. He's been doing like humanitarian missions there where they just I don't know if they're bringing over supplies, like what type of supplies. It could just be like food.
Billions of dollars of U.S. money.
Yeah. But he invited me out there. I know my parents and my fiance would be pissed if I was like, I'm going to take a casual trip to Ukraine.
If you do go,
yeah.
you're halfway to Chernobyl.
Yeah.
I'm just saying maybe a text
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
would be nice. Is all I'm saying.
No, I think he would take all the help he can get. So if you're trying to go to Ukraine too,
Listen,
I mean,
I'll move
I
some
don't
crates of food, but I need an hour of my own time.
yes, I mean your kids probably wouldn't be pumped if you were heading to
No,
Ukraine.
probably not. I have 5 of them now.
Okay,
Yeah. Some might argue I need a new hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe collect stamps.
We'll
yeah,
try
But,
this podcast thing out.
Yeah, try like podcasting out. Kids, though, making kids is just a great time. So you guys know that. It's a great time.
Especially practicing.
I'd like to do it at some point.
Yes.
Well,
Stick
yeah.
with 2. 2's a nice
Yeah.
number.
No,
Two's a nice
I don't plan on going over 2. I'm gonna have 2, and then I'm gonna get my tubes tied.
Solid. So we were gonna do that, and we were in the room with the doctors, and she's like, "I don't get my tubes tied," and they're like, "Whoa, you got to plan that in advance. You can't do that. You're under distress. We
Mhm.
can't accept that request right now." I'm like, "Hold on. She can sign all of these legal documents, and that's okay, but tubes tied, no."
Yeah.
They're like, "No, you can't do it." So now I'm gonna go get a vasectomy.
When you
Solid.
get your tubes tied, can you still, like, when you masturbate, does jizz come out?
I believe that's called a vasectomy. Tubes tied's female.
So
Oh wait,
But-
but it's still like males have
They cut
semen
and sear.
tubes.
They cut and sear it.
Okay, so it's not a tie, but you're
so
getting your tubes
different,
seared.
there's different highways down there, and then they cut the one that actually the semen's produced in. There's the one that produces the fluid that the semen live in.
Okay.
That still comes out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so you're
Yep.
not shooting, fresh
You're shooting
Wyoming
blanks,
air.
basically. You're still shooting, but it's blanks.
But there's liquid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Imagine not knowing after the fact. You're like, oh, yeah. And then, oh, shit.
Okay. So
that?
yeah, I was referring to a vasectomy when I said
All right.
tubes tied,
Yeah.
even though it's a
I'm
tube
like,
seared.
wait a minute.
Okay. No, because I
Cleaners,
think
not Chinese.
I assume a vasectomy is a lot easier to get than a female who wants to get
I
her
believe the
fallopian tubes tied.
I believe when the tube's tied, it's usually during a C-section,
Mhm.
and they're already in there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I think it's less intrusive when they're already whacked open and
Yeah.
they're already in there. But I believe a vasectomy is a quick in and out 30-minute process.
You gotta ice it down for a while.
I believe you're supposed to ejaculate 30 times and then go back,
Light
and
work.
they test the 31st one to make sure there's nothing in it.
I'll be back
Yep.
that afternoon.
I've heard about that.
John comes back 37 minutes later. I'm all done. Check it.
Yeah. Some people were saying sometimes they make you jack off at the doctor's office, or sometimes they say you can beat off at home, we just need the semen within like a half hour.
I think they make you come in first
of
if
you
you're the
beating
kind of
off.
person you are. Yeah, you need to do this at home, sir.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
can you imagine the sign on the door at the doctor's office? Masturbation station.
Yeah.
This is where you go. It's a broom closet. Yeah, good. Go jerk off. Yeah, I'll know soon enough. I'm gonna make an
Okay.
appointment this month, and I'm gonna go do the dance. So back at topic at hand. You went to Everest. You did that. Now,
How's the food?
yeah, that's my next question. What was it called to eat?
The food is good. Momos, which are Nepalese dumplings, are delicious.
Any wontons?
No, it did not have any Rangoons out there.
That's a travesty.
I also ate some yak meat.
How was that?
It's good.
Do you have yak milk?
I had yak cheese.
Okay, I heard in
Yeah.
Monsters Inc. it's delicious, but they getting the hair out of the milk's the problem. That's a
Yeah,
cartoon, so
haven't
it could be
tried
wrong.
that.
Could be wrong.
I know the Mongolians used to drink fermented mare's milk, so that's like fermented horse milk,
Mhm.
and that was I think that was the only booze they had. Fermented milk just sounds
Sounds like cheese.
disgusting. Yeah, it sounds like cheese.
Sounds like
I
cheese.
mean,
You're one step away.
alcoholic cheese, that would be nuts.
I'd fuck with it.
Mhm.
I would try it.
Beer cheese.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Pretzel, like
Beer cheese is the thing, but there's no booze in it.
Cooks
I don't
off?
think. Yeah, it cooks off.
So you went to Everest. You've done all kinds of crazy shit in your life, in the bottom of these river. Name
Yeah.
a few. What would you say is your most memorable experience throughout your proceedings? Damn it, Stack! I said it.
This is a tough one, but the Everest trip is definitely up there. I mean, just the most beautiful mountains you've seen in your life. I mean, I always tell people one of the craziest things I've ever witnessed firsthand is when I went to Tajikistan and saw people playing the sport of buzkashi. Buzkashi, which is 100 people on horseback, all trying to drag a headless goat like into the end zone, and there's no team, so it's just every man for himself.
100 players.
Yeah, and there were just 100 players, just everyone's like whacking each other's horses.
They had sticks.
the smell.
They had these small little whips that they would use on the horse, but once you got into like a scrum, they were just hitting each other with them too, and like trying to reach down while on the horse and pick up this
So
headless
they're
goat.
bare-handed grabbing it. There's not like a hook or a stick. You grab it.
Yeah, you like grab it by its like throat tendon or something, and then you have to.
So these guys are playing bukkake, and this must be
Yeah.
the smell of this arena, this field must be horrendous. Then a headless goat and all these horses, and unshowered men.
I mean, I was never like in the middle of the scrum, but
I'm sure you got whiffs of the scrum.
the wild thing is that there was no like there's no like barriers on the sides of the field. So there were times when like all of the horses would just come charging at you, and then everyone in the crowd watching would just have to start like running for the hills.
So you couldn't have a good stationary seat.
Yeah.
You have a head on a swivel.
Yes. Head on a swivel for sure.
That's crazy.
Um
You've done some crazy shit.
yeah.
So what got you, like what gave you the travel bug? What made you want to travel the world and get out there?
I think it was I mean, in college, like all my friends were going abroad to study abroad, and most of them went to like Barcelona, London, Australia, and stuff. And I was like, maybe I should go someplace really off the beaten path, just so I like, because that's maybe later in life I'll have a chance to go to Europe or something like that and see that. So I should just like take this opportunity to go someplace I would never go otherwise. And I went to Botswana.
Where's that located?
Africa?
I don't have a globe in my pocket at the moment.
Africa, but it's north of South Africa.
Okay.
And actually, like at the time, I was seeing all my friends partying in Barcelona, Australia, and I was like, damn, the nightlife in Botswana really isn't as much fun. But
That's like if you're gonna pick an African country, that's like probably top 5 of African countries
yeah,
you could pick to go see.
yes.
Like safari type shit.
This is where I'm going to go.
Yeah. But we did some homestays on that trip, and like one of them was just in the capital city. You're living in a normal apartment with a family, but one of them was in a village, and so I like lived with an African family in this kind of like hut for a week. And my friend's homestay family was just a 22-year-old guy who loved to smoke pot. And so I would always walk over to his hut and we would just be hanging out, like playing cards, drinking beers. And that's when it kind of like, it really went to show me that wherever you are in the world, people aren't that different. Like they probably have more in common than they have apart. And so that kind of like, that's how I overcame my like fear of traveling to weird places.
That'll do it.
Like that.
You
Yeah.
realize anywhere you go, someone's gonna light a bone up. I get it.
Yeah.
Understand? We're not that different. We both like to smoke. I get it.
Yeah.
How was it out there? That stuff.
How was the weed?
Was it like homegrown bullshit or?
I enjoyed the weed because I think the weed in the U.S. these days is too strong.
A little much sometimes.
Yeah, a little much. Where you take one hit and you're just absolutely baloney faced.
That's me. I can't. I can smell it. Like no smoking here,
Yeah,
and I'll start sinking on the couch.
yeah.
And I'm not even smoking. It's just it's too much.
So it's like a nice cigarette, a nice little buzz off of it while you're drinking, hanging out.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you can smoke a full joint and just have like a nice chill buzz.
All right, nice.
Yeah.
Speaking of chilled buzzes,
Yeah.
dare I ask? Dare I ask?
Oh yeah.
I gotta ask my dad. Dad, is it okay if I ask?
So let's put it in a way where, because the stuff is technically
It's legal.
It's legal, good.
It's questionable.
So
where you
word
are.
on the street is,
Yeah.
It's
you,
legal.
during your travels,
Yes.
you came across a certain substance that Winnie the Pooh himself would love
Yes.
to dabble in.
Nepalese mad honey.
Nepalese mad honey.
It is legal in the U.S. So, and I could, and the guy who sold it to me in Nepal, he was like, "Feel free to bring it back to the U.S." Because
So you got your legal advice from a Sherpa in Nepal. That's what I'm asking.
On a mountain, lizard is totally cool.
I didn't buy it in a mountain. I bought it from a honey shop in Kathmandu.
Okay,
It was the last of last year's harvest because right now in Kathmandu is when they're harvesting it now.
Right.
Now, is it more potent when it's fresh? What's the shelf life like? I know honey itself.
This stuff was
Honey's
plenty potent.
They
I
find
have
honey
tested it.
in huts and places and like.
I know there's no expiration date on honey, but I'm saying the potentness of it. If you're gonna take something that
I'm
changes.
sure that honey encapsulates.
Yeah.
Okay, all
It's still very potent.
All right.
So mad honey, it's harvested from hives that are like 4,000 meters up
These guys are climbing the
on cliffs.
Can we get a exchange on that? 4,000 meters is what in feet?
Yeah, no,
It's
it is very
3.3 meters
confusing.
for-
1,800 feet at least. 650.
Hey,
No,
Josh,
no,
what is
no.
that in feet?
4,000 meters would be, so it's like 4,000 times 3.5. I don't know.
I thought it was
I'm not gonna-
3.3.
Oh, it's more.
Yeah, yeah.
125 feet.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah.
13,000 feet and change.
Yeah, so
Wow, that's
they're
a
up there like
lot.
on cliffs, and for some reason, like the type of wildflowers up there contain something called guarana toxin,
Guarana toxin.
or something like that.
All right.
And
Like hallucinogenic.
Okay.
well, so it was called hallucinogenic honey. That's always what I heard it referred to. So I tried it thinking it would be like shrooms,
Right.
but it was not like shrooms at all. And I also did too much. Like I was told to just do 1 teaspoon, wait an hour and a half, and then maybe do like another half a teaspoon. And I started with 2 teaspoons and then
Naturally.
'Cause you're a man, I understand.
waited an hour, didn't feel anything, and then I did a third. And at first you just get this like warm, cold sensation, like rushing through your body, and there's these like tingling sensation. That's kind of like when your legs fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I actually thought it felt kind of cool, but then after about 2 hours, I just started puking violently for
Okay.
4 hours. Like,
Okay, all right. So
yeah.
throwing up might be in the future.
No, but if you guys wanted to sample it, I have some here.
He's like puking. Oh, I should have listened to that.
If-
Catman honey salesman.
Yes, I was.
He gave me instructions. I listened to him.
I know he gave me the perfect instructions, and we filmed the whole thing. I think I'm going to drop a video
That's awesome.
next week. And as I was listening back to the footage, I was like, he told me exactly what to do, and I just completely.
Can you imagine your plug
disregarded
being
it.
a honey salesman at 13,000 feet above sea level?
Yeah,
I have to go see my guy. I'll be back in a month.
yeah.
That's crazy.
Um,
I mean, do you have it with you? Do you walk around with
Imagine
it?
becoming addicted.
no,
to bad honey.
Oh,
I brought it just because I knew you were very intrigued in trying it.
I am. I've never. I don't think I'm ever gonna have the opportunity again. So I'm not gonna pussy out on this one.
Yeah, if we have like a spoon, you
Sell
can use a
yourself short.
spoon, or you can just.
I'm sure we're gonna be over in that part of the world one day.
You want to climb Everest with me?
Climb.
Do you have a mark how far you went so I can go 1 foot above yours? Just like I bested
yeah.
it?
I was around like 17,500 feet up.
Okay, so I need 17,501 foot.
18 or better, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll call you and be like, I made it. How's the cell service up there?
So not a lot of cell service, but on the trek up, you stay at these tea houses that all have Wi-Fi,
That's amazing.
and then at the base camp, and there you just pay like $10 for the Wi-Fi. But then when you get to base camp, the Wi-Fi was a lot more expensive. Like they would charge you
Now you're talking
$50 for.
American, or you're talking...
I'm talking American. They would charge you like 50 USD for 2 days of Wi-Fi, but the Wi-Fi up at the base camp was not good. So you're paying $50 and you can
It's worth it.
That's one
you
expensive
can barely
cell
get a text.
I've done
out.
dumber shit with $50.
So have I.
Yeah, and then I think they would charge you like $300 for a week or something. And
Wow.
maybe
And you
that
can't even
was
send a
expensive.
text out. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it was not. Well,
Speaking of price,
you can post a photo, but you can't post a video.
Okay.
Yeah.
speaking of price, how much does a jar of Mad Honey cost?
So the guy who sold it to me was like, "Don't tell the price because the price varies on if it's like
Who it is?
on if it's like abundant or if there's not a
Supply
lot.
and
of it.
demand.
Supply and demand,
But
absolutely.
he's not gonna be watching this podcast. I don't think so.
Wow. Wait. Oh, really? So we're
I
not
don't-
going to reach? Fuck you, guy.
No, I'm just saying that he was like, I don't know if he will, but yeah, I can just
I
say
don't know if he will.
he's in Kathmandu. It was
And our internet's $50 a day. So yeah,
yeah.
maybe he's not listening to this.
it was
Spotify.
it was like $75 for like a small jar for maybe
Small
like,
mason jar type?
for like 300 grams or something.
Wow. That's like,
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to grams, $75 is pretty
I
cheap
was
for
waiting
300
for
of
them
them.
to say like $300-$500.
Yeah. Let's see what he got.
So
Okay.
in here,
That's the honey, huh?
Okay.
yeah.
I did not expect a plastic lid.
It
Not gonna lie.
actually, it kind of made me cough like I had just taken a hit of weed.
Really?
Yeah, it like
Tickles the throat.
yes,
Mm.
it tickles the throat. Exactly.
I mean, today at some point we will be trying that.
Yeah,
honey.
yeah.
I was laughing about it. Now I'm looking at it. A little intimidated by a little jar. A little intimidated.
Yeah.
I'm not. The shit I've taken, I'm not.
Because I'm
No,
not scared
I mean,
of it.
in small amounts, it's fine. I should have followed that guy's instructions.
I can't believe you didn't.
Yeah.
There's certain people you meet in life where they tell you things, and you should listen to them.
Yeah.
Certain other people you meet, you're like, nah.
Well,
Okay. That's
I
one of them.
also like listening back. He said to wait an hour and a half, and I just waited an hour, and I was like, I don't feel it. I was like, nope, should have waited an hour and a half because that's exactly when it really started to kick in.
I have a similar experience in Vegas. I met a shaman in a bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave me some of his stuff. And he told me a similar scenario. He's like, hey, listen, take one, wait a little bit, take the second one. Don't do it all at once.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't tell me how to live my life. Right? I was being an asshole. I took all three of what he was giving up. And I have no recollection of the day. I mean, I have tons of photos. I was at a rooftop party with a Dominican wedding family, a Dominican wedding party. I had a great time. That was my last conscious thought. I woke up at a dinner party, and I looked at my buddy, Big John Marinelli, and I looked at him. He goes, "Don't worry, kid. You don't owe any money for dinner. You didn't buy anything." I was like, "Oh, all right." Like,
Oh shit!
so nowadays, I listen to the guy when he's like, "Hey, listen, don't do this. Do it this way."
Always listen.
Yeah, I didn't listen.
If you want to hear a wild story, back in ancient times, a Roman army was pursuing a Greek army, and the general had a bunch of this mad honey. And so he left it all out for the Romans and then kept on retreating. And the Romans came across the honey, and they're like, oh, sweet, honey. All started to eat it, became completely incapacitated, were pretty much just lying on the ground, semi-paralyzed, and then the Greeks swooped back in and killed them all.
Biological warfare.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Nice.
Talk about tricksters.
Talk about a honey trap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
damn words.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yep.
Everyone talks about the Trojan horse. No, the honey was the gimmick.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Because if you just come across some honey, it's hard to say no. Especially back then when like there was no candy or anything like that.
That's
Like
the sweets.
honey was like the only way to get the sweet stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not to go home now and research that story.
It's true. It was
I believe you.
Mithridates or something. Yeah.
We need to get a better Google search. Josh is in the back of the curtain there. I'm not sure he's Googling anything. Josh, can you tell me more about that story later? Just put a pin in it for me.
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Josh.
Nice.
That's awesome, though.
You
Like,
guys heard about the Nazis that were all on meth?
yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I sort of heard those stories that they called it the marching powder, and and the Nazis would take methamphetamines and amphetamine salts, and they'd give it to their SS guys, and
Dissolvable pills under the tongue. They used to take it.
they would jack them up.
Hitler himself was on a lot of
Amphetamines, yeah.
meth. Yeah.
Uppers, downers,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was considered meth though back then. I think it was amphetamines.
He was on liquid cocaine.
and then
Well-
methamphetamines are made in like a bathtub in Arkansas.
Yeah, but I think it's still.
Same
I
thing?
think I think because you can have methamphetamine pills. I accidentally took one while traveling in Southeast Asia because it was called
Okay.
yaba, and I was like, oh, this
Heard of
sounds
that.
like exotic. I'll try it, and I should have asked what it was because
3 days later.
I took it, and my heart was just racing, and I was just tweaking. And I asked some Australian guy, I was like, dude, do you have any idea what this yaba stuff is? I'm like really amped up right now. And he was like, oh, mate, it's just another word for crystal meth. And
That explains why you're polishing all the copper in
Yeah.
the bathroom.
I can see why they would take that in war, though, because you don't feel pain or anything like that.
Yeah,
and
there's
then
you have no problems or anything.
Down too. If
Yeah.
you're not killing somebody.
yeah, and you don't have to sleep, you don't have to eat. But it was not a great experience. Would not recommend doing that.
0 out of 10. Wouldn't recommend.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
So you've been on every continent besides Antarctica?
No, I've never been to Australia, which I think that's like its own continent.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Continent. When you going there?
I don't know.
Let's get on top of that.
That would be a lot of fun. It doesn't feel as exotic as some of my past trips, but I would probably have the most fun.
I believe
It's got a lot of exotic animals.
They do. It's the most concentrated venomous population of animals: insects, reptilians, mammals.
Yeah.
I think it's the
Australia's
biggest
cool, but
concentration.
my wife said New Zealand's better.
She been to both?
Yes.
Yeah, New Zealand looks beautiful.
Yeah. it's-
Have you been to New Zealand?
No, I haven't. Haven't been to that part of the
You're
world.
slacking off, buddy.
But you have been to Antarctica yet?
No, I haven't.
You did the glacier diving though in Alaska.
Yes,
You did
that was in
You've been to
Alaska.
North America, South America, Europe.
Yeah, in South
Africa.
America, I've only been to Colombia. So
how was that?
Counts.
it was awesome. I'd like to go further south though. Medellin, which obviously everyone thinks of like Pablo Escobar and his cartel, it's now a very nice city. I think like in the 80s it was the most dangerous place in the world. Now it's perfect weather year round. I felt safe the whole time. It's like beautiful in the middle of this valley. So if you have a chance to go to Medellin, I would highly recommend.
So 10 out of 10, Medellin. Okay,
Yeah.
I want to go.
And pretty cheap flights from New York.
there. Anything out there? Anything else there that's really cheap? I've heard other things in that place were cheap. That's what I heard.
No,
That's what I heard. The
can't-
tourism there is very accommodating. Cortez, the guy who works with us, Stefan Cortez with an S, he has expressed how cheap it is to go there and have a good nightlife.
Food,
Oh yeah.
Food,
alcohol.
you can get
Yes.
company, you can have a great time there for really, really low cost of a U.S. dollar.
Oh yeah.
Like $50 US gets you from 8 o'clock till 5 a.m. having a great time all night, drinking, having a good old time, having a good dinner.
Yeah.
So
the
that's what I
case.
meant by that.
Yeah, it's like that in a lot of countries. It's a shame that you can't have too much fun in the U.S. with
Go to
$50
New York.
bucks.
You go to New York at 8 o'clock, you get 2 beers,
Yeah.
and then a parking ticket on top.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in for 150.
Are you officially Barstool's like international correspondent?
Yeah, that's what I call myself.
Oh, you're self-proclaimed.
Self-proclaimed, I'm their
Okay.
foreign correspondent.
Well, I'm going to continue that
What-
that name.
What's your next trip? Like any outline ideas?
So we have a girl at the company who does Barstool Outdoors, and like most of her
Follow that.
content's like hunting content and things like that. I've never filmed anything with her, but I was invited to go to the Bahamas the end of this month to go spearfishing.
For you.
Yeah, no, that's going to be the biggest.
Do you need
boondoggle ever.
someone there to look over the diving aspect of this? Like, I can help you.
We could use an underwater cameraman.
I got you on that.
Okay.
All right, we can definitely have that for you.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to spearfish?
Yeah, I've done it in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
we shoot sea bass.
I went once, and it was like the most fun I've ever had. Like the most fun I've ever had doing an outdoors activity. Like
Really? You just climbed Everest.
Yeah, but I
With
don't,
spearfishing, man, it was crazy.
yeah, no. If I had to choose between trekking or spearfishing, I'd probably take the spearfishing.
That's especially in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Like, how do you say no to that?
Yes.
You know, wait, the
Yeah.
Bahamas? I'm busy that week. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
make it. That's awesome though. So you're gonna do that? You're all signed up for it?
Yeah, we're going. We leave on Memorial Day, and then we're just gonna be down there for like 3 days or something. But
I look forward to that
That's
content.
really cool.
I'm very excited.
That's awesome.
Have you done that before? Free dive spearfishing?
Yes, it was for spiny lobster.
Spiny lobsters. Okay.
Yes, and I got one. I got one. It was like a sunken bus, and like the person I was with was like, "Dude, I saw like a huge one in the bus." So I swam down into the bus, shot the spear, but only got part of it. So then I had to wrestle it out, like of the dashboard of this bus, and I was down there for a while, and my lungs were like, "Dude, just go up, go up."
That
And I
was
like,
just
"No,
free
I-
diving. Your holding
Yeah.
your breath.
Yeah.
Wow. Where was this at?
This was in the Bahamas. It's the only other time I've been.
This guy's hanging out in the Bahamas
It was
regularly.
no. This was
Jeez.
a crazy story. So, as I'm sure you guys know, I used to live in China
China.
for almost like 8 years. And then in 2019, I came home for the holidays, and that's when COVID broke out in China. So I was like, shit, I should not go back there. And so I didn't have a place to live in the U.S. I was kind of either staying at friends' places in New York or just crashing at my parents' place back in Massachusetts and just going back and forth. And then a random fan reached out, and he was like, hey, I live in the Bahamas, but I'm heading to Canada for 2 weeks. If you can watch my cat, you can just live in my place in the Bahamas. Wow. So I was like, all right, that sounds good.
Doesn't sound creepy at all in any way.
Yeah. So I
Looking
talked
for cameras.
I talked to him on the phone once, and
He went to Botswana.
he sounded
Watching a
normal
cat in
enough,
Bahamas
and
is
he was
fine.
like, I know your coworker's neighbor. And then I asked my coworker, I was like, is this guy your neighbor? And he was like, yeah, I'm not really friends with him, but
But yeah, he's
that-
my neighbor.
that is my neighbor. So I was like, all right, checks the boxes.
Good enough.
Same.
All right, I'm going.
So I got down there, and literally a day after I got down there is when then COVID broke out in the U.S. and like the whole country went into lockdown.
So everywhere you're leaving is getting COVID.
Did you
That's
step in shit and he had to stay in Canada?
that's
and
interesting.
Stay there.
No, so then he couldn't even leave for Canada. So then he was just
Shit on
down
a
there
bed.
the whole time. But so yeah, that was a very weird 2 weeks, but it was great because that first week I'm just living it up in the Bahamas, and everyone in the U.S. is freaking out,
Can
being
you,
like,
can you
I'm not allowed to
explain
leave my
weird?
apartment.
Yeah, when you,
happened
when
that
you
made
say
it
weird, what do you mean by
The
weird?
guy shit with the door open?
Did he
What's
like
weird?
watch you sleep? Like how weird? What is weird?
Wake up at 4 a.m. to make beef
he
jerky?
he did have some cameras in the bedroom, but they were not on.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. These aren't on
no.
either.
Yes.
Yeah, I got it.
Watch my YouTube videos. I think it's called Donnie Bahamas COVID Refugee. But yeah, I met someone else down there while I was there who offered to take me spearfishing.
But you are a likable guy. Makes sense. Making a lot of friends.
Yeah, and that was awesome. Especially because after I got the lobster, I made spiny lobster rangoons.
Full circle.
Yeah,
circle.
and they were. I think those were the best rangoons.
We went
I've
to a
ever made.
place the other day.
Geisha House in Manhattan.
Geisha
at
House?
Upper Manhattan. I think it's around 145th around.
Yeah.
Best-
Amsterdam.
Best ones I've ever had. He claimed it, and I went there. I tagged you in the post. I took a
Definitely
picture of
top 3 of all time I've had.
it.
so
They
far.
rocked my world. They rocked me to my core.
Geisha House. Okay.
Geisha Sushi House.
It was very good.
And wait, so you're saying their rangoons were good?
Their
Yes.
rangoons are, like I said, they're top 3 I've ever had. Best
All
ones
right,
I've ever had
now-
was a buffet in Barcelona.
Wait.
In the red light district.
Barcelona had crab
Bar-
rangoons?
So
Yes.
I went to Barcelona back in
What?
2018,
Yeah.
and I was there for 2 weeks. And I was staying in this red light district hotel. We didn't know it was red light. district.
Yeah, we didn't
My wife-
know.
Yeah, yeah.
My wife,
We didn't know.
my wife now, but
Yeah.
girlfriend at the time, she booked this place and got a great deal. Beautiful hotel pictures. Said it had a pool, the whole deal. We show up, no pool. Like, okay, fine.
They had you.
But the hotel very secure and it looked nice. So we leave and we're hanging out at this local cafe having dinner that night. And I see these prostitutes, which I didn't know they were at first, but they looked like it. They were walking around, hanging out in the corner.
They were wearing the uniform.
Yeah, talking
Okay.
to these guys in weird ways. And I'm like, I wonder if we're in the red light district. And sure as shit, we were. So we go exploring Barcelona the whole 2 weeks. On the third to last day, I discover this buffet right down the street from the hotel. They only open at 7 p.m. and they close at 11 p.m.
Okay.
So I'm like, we have to try this. So we show up.
Super exclusive.
I
You have
show
to
up at
try it.
6:30. So I'm
Yeah.
hanging out in front, smoking a little bit. We go inside. The first one's there. All of a sudden, busloads of people start showing up.
Yep.
And they packed the place. And you couldn't go up to the buffet until the last spoon or fork or tongue was in the last tray. So you're watching it, waiting. Finally go up. The best buffet I've ever been to in my life, bar none. Even like the paella there was better than any paella I had in Barcelona the whole time.
Holy shit.
Wontons were the best. Everything was supreme.
We had a buffet like that in Portugal. It was
And they're only open for 4 hours.
this
a
place
day.
was open
Yeah.
real weird hours,
That's when you know a place is good.
and it was in the mall. It was in the middle of a mall. In
And it was
Portugal.
constantly
so good.
packed. People leave, another busload of people showed up.
Now, were they locals or were they?
I don't know.
tourists?
They were all Asians on the buses.
Because where we were, it was all mostly tourism because the portions they give you were small. So people that are coming from out of the country are used to bigger portions, so they are flocking to this buffet.
Okay.
So it was all tourist people in this buffet.
It was a little pricey. It was €49 each person.
Whoa!
Was it like near a casino or anything like that?
No. This
Okay.
was in the red light district on like the main avenue.
All right.
Now, did they have a Groupon?
No,
Oh,
no
okay, all right.
coupons.
I just saved money.
It was so good. I went
Yeah.
back the next night. I wanted to go back the third night before we left, and my wife was like, "I think we've had enough."
Yeah. Let's,
We're on travel on holiday, and we're in
try
the same
something else.
location.
We were leaving to go to Morocco.
oh, shit.
Yeah, I went to Barcelona for like 13 days, and then Morocco for 9.
We went to Casablanca. right?
Morocco. We flew into Casablanca and then flew to Agadir. We were at Agadir for a couple days, and then her grandmother and mother and us went to Marrakesh. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Marrakesh.
I've
That's like
heard good
if you're
things.
gonna go to Barcelona, Morocco,
Yeah.
Marrakesh is the place to go to get the old school feel and,
Yeah.
and that kind of vibe.
Did you smoke any
Casablanca's-
hash?
Oh,
Did
did
he?
I?
Yeah.
That's a silly question.
Yeah,
So-
I know. Shouldn't have asked.
So when you go to Barcelona, they have these cannabis clubs. So a gentleman will come up to you in the street and be like, "Hey, you want a party?" kind of thing.
Yeah.
And of course, me being who I am, I'm like, absolutely. So I drag my wife.
For the
with
people
me.
that don't know who you are, who exactly are you?
I like to partake in the
Extracurriculars. Okay.
yes.
All right.
So I follow this gentleman, probably a 20-minute walk.
You follow a
Takes
stranger
us-
in a foreign
the issue
country.
is, he took me like down different streets. He didn't have to. I didn't know at the moment, but he was taking us like on a weird way, so I didn't remember exactly in case things didn't work out when we showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So we follow the 20 minutes. We take a walk. We walk into this alleyway, and there's this big red door, and he knocks on it like a certain way, and we open it up. And then another gentleman asked me for €50 each for each of us, me and my wife, to join the club, and you get a lifetime pass. I talked him down to €20 each. So
Typical American.
We get in, and then when you walk into the next door, the security and stuff, there's a little booth, and then all seating, like black lights and real cool vibes. So anything behind the counter, any buds they had or hash, was $20 a gram, no matter what it was.
Okay.
Or you get 5 grams for 100,
Okay.
which was nice, or 6 grams for 100.
That didn't sound like a deal.
No, 6 grams for 100.
That's
But
simple
anyway,
math.
whole time having a good time. Then I bring that with me, probably like 3 grams, and I travel it to Morocco with me. And I
That's
hide
kind
it.
of dangerous.
It was.
Sounds
Yeah.
like a sketch.
But I was living life. I was like, what's the worst that could happen? I mean,
Oh,
for
in
30
jail.
years? Yeah.
Jail.
Especially because you wouldn't have to bring it. You could just find it in
Well,
Morocco.
that was my issue. I don't know anybody out there, and I'm a big fat white American guy asking all these random people.
Please,
for
please,
hash.
please.
No,
Husky.
They would walk up to you. They would see you in Marrakesh
believe it or-
and be like,
but-
"This guy will
But
pay us a
believe it
lot
or
of
not,
money."
that wasn't the case.
Oh,
So I smuggled it in. I had it for 2 days, and now I'm at the point where I need to find this while I'm out here. So my 4th day we're at the beach in Agadir, and I take a walk to go look for it while my wife and her mother's on the beach. So I come across this gentleman. I'm sitting on the bench, and this heavy-set Moroccan guy sits down next to me, old guy, and starts speaking perfect English.
The Queen's English or American English?
American English.
Okay.
So we're talking for a minute, and he goes, "I work at the hotel down here. I'm in like a concierge, my day off." He goes, "Can I help you get more comfortable while you're here?" So I'm like, "Here's my opening." I'm like, "Yes, I would like some hash." He goes, no problem. He goes, how much are you going to spend? I'm like, how about 100 dirham? Now, dirhams over there, so it's 10 to 1. So 100 dirhams
$10.
is $10 here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you bought a dime bag.
So basically, I give him the money. He goes, oh, give me the money, I'll go get it. I'm like, not my first rodeo, buddy. You get it, and I'll give you the money. So he comes back and has this tin foil rolled up in like a little ball. And he goes, listen, don't open it here. There's undercover cops everywhere. And as soon as he said that, I'm like, wait a minute.
Aren't you one of them?
Yeah, so
I'm friends with these guys.
I give him the money. He walks away, and I open it right there. And inside it, there's cellophane, and inside that, it's tree bark. So I was like, motherfucker. So I get up, I start looking around for him, and I see him now behind like the little restaurant area, walking up this little hill by the park.
Yeah.
So mind you, I was a lot more svelte back then.
Yeah.
Very
100
svelte.
pounds later.
Very svelte.
I start running on an angle to him, and he's just like counting his money hanging out. And I catch up to him, and I'm breathing heavy, and I start screaming at him in his face. Oh, you think I'm stupid? Blah, blah, blah. And he like freaks out. I'm like, give me the money. Gives it back. And then he puts his hand out. I'm like, what the fuck do you want? He goes, I want my stuff back. He wanted me to give him the tree bark back.
Because he
Like,
sells it to the
let
next
somebody
guy,
else.
yeah.
So I just fucking ripped it up.
Jesus.
So,
yeah, I've heard that happen to
Fast
people
forward,
before.
we're at the beach at this public concert that the king threw for the whole country. Every city,
A
on
nice
the same
king.
3 nights, had these big parties in all the cities.
Yeah.
So we're at this big beach party at night, and my wife and I are taking a walk on the boardwalk, and my now mother-in-law, she was getting hit on by these like jacked surfer dudes. So
Like
she looked
California
uncomfortable.
surfer
No,
dudes?
Moroccan
Okay.
surfer dudes.
Yeah.
So she's feeling comfortable. So I walk over, and she's like looking at me like, help me, like get out of the situation. And they were a little tipsy. As soon as I walk over, they were like, oh, we're so sorry. We didn't know she was with you, blah, blah, blah. And then they become my best friend because they found out I'm from New York.
So they follow you around.
So they're like, hey, my cousin works in the stock market, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, can you get me hash? He's like, yeah, no problem. Points to one of his cronies. He runs down, comes back, and hands me like a little brick in my hand. I go, how much? He goes, this is on the house. I'm like,
So all it took was a little sexual
Awesome.
harassment
So
of your mother-in-law.
we
You got a big
exchanged
head.
Facebook information.
All right.
We exchanged Facebook information. Then the next day, he hits me up on Messenger. So I'm at the coffee house across the street from where we're staying. I have Wi-Fi. And he's like, hey, I'm going to my uncle's house in the mountain. Do you need anything? I'm like, yes, sir. So he brings me back about a 1/4 ounce of the freshest, it was like warm and gooey almost,
Oh, nice.
ash from the mountain, just made that night before.
Let's go.
So that was my experience, and then when I smoked that, I was like tripping my balls off a little bit. It was a
Yeah.
little much.
When you leave the U.S., I feel like most people smoke hash and not the flower weed that we're used to here.
Especially,
That's what was in
especially in
Portugal.
areas like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
That's what it was like in Nepal as well. They're actually known for their hash too.
Did you have any hash out there?
It's
okay, you can
I
tell
didn't
me.
have
I'm not
any
a cop.
hash, but my cameraman brought a weed pen, so I
Ah.
just
What?
hit that a few times.
Yeah,
You bring your own sand to the beach too? Like
Yeah, I was like,
what the heck?
why did you do that? Because we had a layover in Qatar, which if he had been caught with a weed pen in Qatar, it'd probably be pretty serious penalties. And
crazy.
it's pretty easy to find hash in Nepal. So
True. Yeah, in Morocco, when we got there from Barcelona, our bags were caught because there was a baggage strike in the airport.
Oh, how'd that feel? I knew you had hash in that bag.
Yeah, so when I first got there, my bag was taken, and we couldn't find it. So I had to leave with my check bag, and then the next day we get a phone call. Their bags are finally in the airport. You got to come and search through a sea of bags for your shit.
okay,
So finally, I find the bag. We're leaving the hotel. Now, mind you, when I left the hotel the night before, or the airport the night before, I went to security. They ripped my shit apart. Fine. When I walked back in the airport to get my bag, I thought I was just gonna get my bag and walk out the front door.
yeah,
No. You got to go through security just like you got off the plane again. Show your passport, go through 3 different checks. And at this point, he opened my bag and was going through everything, and then actually picked up my toiletry bag, opened it, took my toothbrush holder out, and even opened that and looked inside.
oh shit,
And that's where it was hidden. I shoved it inside both sides of the toothbrush holder up top. So it just looked like part of the toothbrush holder.
Oh,
And he
okay.
looked at it and put it back together, and I was on my way.
You're out of your
I was
mind.
shitting my pants.
Now, we got to wrap this up. Wonton has to make it back to the city for 12 o'clock. Before you leave, it's just one quick thing I want to know. How many near experiences of arresting did you come across within your travels? You ever had that happen?
So when I lived in China, went to the police department a few times.
Okay.
First time was for dancing on the court at a basketball game.
Can't do that, huh?
Yeah, you can't do that. But when I went to the police department, like I played dumb and I was like, oh, I didn't know I wasn't allowed to do that.
Excuse.
I was like, in the U.S., we just run and dance on courts a lot.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And that, like, he just checked my passport to see I had a valid visa and then let me go. And that happened like 2 other times. One time I snuck into a Rolling Stones concert and got caught underneath the stage. I was just kind of like, I was backstage. I was going all over the place. Their American head of security found me underneath the stage, and I had this briefcase that just like had my camera in it and stuff. And he like thought I was a terrorist and like freaks the fuck out, like shoves me against the wall.
You can get shot.
He's like, you are so fucked, buddy. You are so fucked. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hand you over to the Chinese authorities. And once he said that, I was like, oh, sweet. I'm actually not fucked.
We're friendly, those guys.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook together.
Yeah, handed me over to the Chinese authorities. And then once again, they made me write like what I did wrong on a piece of paper. And
Apology.
yeah, they made me write an apology, and they can't even read English, so I don't even know why they did that. And then once again, checked my visa and allowed me to go after like an hour.
That's awesome. That's fucking outstanding.
I do have 2 friends out in China who were kicked out of the country because they were caught with weed.
Really?
Yeah. But hey, that's not, at least they weren't like locked up for a year.
Yeah.
I actually do know one person who was locked up for like almost a year because he wasn't just caught with weed. I think he was caught with like multiple bags of weed, so it looked like he was trying to sell it out there.
Different crime then.
Yeah. Very different crime. And then in Colombia, I got strip searched.
Whoa.
Because
Okay.
they were trying to catch me with something.
Maybe
because,
a little of the Colombian Bam Bam.
Yeah, they assumed I had that on me, and a lot of the cops try to target American tourists, not because they want to throw them in jail, but because they're like, if we find something on this American tourist, we can bribe him for $500. Where we're like, hey, you either go to jail for a year or you hand me $500 right now. So he like, I had to actually drop my pants and then drop my boxers and cut my balls and show him that I wasn't hiding anything underneath my balls.
Oh, the old county jail style. You spread your ass and cough?
Yeah. So that was terrifying, but he didn't find anything. He was pissed. But
You're lucky they don't plant something on you and just
yeah,
say you had
and
it.
then eventually let me go.
That's crazy.
I was following your Instagram, and I saw that you were in Dominican Republic at the Baseball World Series.
Yes.
And you got pickpocketed?
Yeah, got pickpocketed there. That was, yeah, I've been pickpocketed in China, but yeah, it was just absolute chaos. And I sort of had it coming because I was rooting for the opposite team.
That's the reason?
Yeah.
I was rooting for that team. They
They
pickpocketed.
get very
But-
sensitive about that.
Yeah.
Take
but,
his money.
Like on that trip, probably one of the like diciest places I've ever been is we had an Uber driver who offered to give us a tour of the most dangerous hood there. And he was like, if you pay my buddy $150 as protection money, we'll make sure that like no one fucks with you in the hood. And we kind of like, we have to do that. We have to play it safe. And I'm glad we did because it was like probably one of the roughest areas I've been, but because we were with them, we had a good time. We were just drinking rum and apple juice, smoking weed. It was
I
fun.
feel like wherever you travel, you find a place to smoke some weed. I respect that.
Yeah.
I think it just comes to him.
Yeah, just it follows you.
Yeah, that was like the Uber driver just brought us to like a trap house where, yeah.
Trap house in
Yes.
the DR.
Yeah.
That's sketchy.
Yes, it is. The DR is like, yeah, so that the DR felt more dangerous than like any place I've traveled to in Asia or
Really?
Yeah. I think that. Well, thanks for having me on, guys.
I really
Appreciate
appreciate you guys coming out. It was really awesome for short notice.
Yeah.
And again, guys, look up Trinity Solar, 908-235-9526 for all your solar needs. Talk to my man Josh. He'll hook you up. If you use the promo code Dive Deep DWB, you get $500 off your installation. And again, this was Diving Deep the Dirty Water Boys with the Wonton Don 002. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.